Here is my servant, the one I support. He is the one I have chosen, and I am very pleased with him. I have filled him with my spirit, and he will bring justice to the nations. He will not cry out or shout or try to make himself heard in the streets. He will not break even a crushed reed. He will not put out even the weakest flame. He will bring true justice. He will not grow weak or give up until he has brought justice to the world, and people in faraway places will hope to receive his teachings. Now this servant has a double meaning, and it deals with two people. Obviously, the servant of Ahaya is Yasharala or Yisrael, because there are four psalms or four songs about the servant, and Ahaya clearly says that his servant is Yasharala or Yisrael. There's no way around that. There's nothing you can say that can go against that. Ahaya spoke it, and that's what it is. The servant is Yasharala. Also here, though, the servant is also the seed of Dawi. Also, it's speaking about the seed of Dawi here, you know, because the seed of Dawi will be just like what these verses are talking about. Will not what? Crush, will not break even a crushed reed. If you don't know what a reed is, it's a stem. It's like, and when you go out to the fields, you got reeds, right? And then you pick one of the stems up. And that stem that's kind of bent or broken, right? You don't want that to completely fall off, you know? You want to kind of straighten it out and put it back with the rest of the reeds and let it continue to grow and grow strong rather than let it fall off and break and then it's useless and it has no value anymore. So I love the metaphor here. So this is what the people of Yasharala do unto the people of Yasharala. Let me explain that. The leaders of Yasharala, who you call motorays, teachers, that's in charge of your camps, your movements, your organizations, whatever self-entitled that you give them, this is what they do unto the people within their congregation and those who are listening in. So we have plenty of platforms where we can see that. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and it goes on, so and so on. We see that these men carry themselves in this manner. And the manner is they rule with a iron fist and shows no compassion towards its own people within their organization, and those who are listening in shows no compassion. They rule over their wives also with an iron fist, and their wives confuse cruelty with righteousness, for they know no compassion. So that's what's going on here. So to my brothers who's out there preaching on these corners, all around the world, especially my IUIC brothers. You're my brothers. I love you. You know what I'm saying? You're my brothers. But you out there preaching on these corners, and that shows that you're not walking in the spirit of Ahaya or the words of this servant, because you go by what the New Testament tell you to do. Be on every hedge of the highway, right? Speaking, that goes totally against what Ahaya spoke unto his servant, and the people shall take notice. See, the people don't listen to Ahaya, they listen to these iron fist rulers or iron fist teachers. They ain't listening to Ahaya. Just go to where it says Ahaya's name and he's speaking. He will tell you what his servant is doing. And for those who seeking the servant of David or Dawi, or in the Paleo Dawada, you will see that that servant shall be walking in this manner. And it reads again, here is my servant, the one I support. He is the one I have chosen, and I am very pleased with him. I have filled him with my spirit, and he will bring justice to the Gentiles or the nations. So we see here the spirit of Ahiah is not ruling with an iron fist. Only Ahiah rules us the way he chooses and pleases. But he always gives us the instructions to rule his people with fairness, equity, right? Rule his people with, like, by being just, understanding, having compassion. All the great leaders, all the great kings, all the great ones of Ahiah, one thing they had was compassion towards their people. All the evil ones rule with an iron fist. But we seem to always lean towards cruelty rather than compassion. For compassion nowadays is not looked at as a door of righteousness, but rather a window of weakness that we just close and let it be and look at that person like he has no strength to carry the word of Ahiah, which is totally false. If you open up that window of compassion and let that breeze in, then compassion will always cool off the sting of an evil, self-righteous, stern, wicked person. It will always take the heat down. So you always walk in righteousness. And compassion is righteousness. Ruling with an iron fist is not. So when you drop down and you go to verse 3, he will not break even a crushed reed. So you got to be mindful how you talking to people. You got to be mindful how you talking to your kids, how you talking to your wife. Like if someone is turning away from the walk or from Ahiah or even from you, then there's a problem there that needs to be reckoned and solved and looked into. And the majority of the time, we must look into ourselves, our surroundings, our households. Women are not just feeling this way and turning from Ahiah just because they're wicked. Nowadays, it is the men who plays a significant role in that, because now all we think about is get back, ruling over our women who once had greater rulership over us. You know, socialism, how the world society has placed women over the men and made us, the low, made them the high, we the tail, they the head. So then we get into this walk and we want to walk in the stature of our forefathers and just rule over them with these instructions, these beautiful instructions that Ahiah has given us. But we want to do things out of context with a lot of misinterpretations. A lot of things that's not applicable, because a lot of things are not for now. They're lands, they're laws of the land. How the land can stay righteous. We in the lands of our captivity, our captors. We are up under curses. So how can you rule with the iron fist of people who are up under these conditions and curses and expect them to stay like faithful unto you and Ahiah when they already in dire situations And you are bringing nothing but more heat and more problems and making this walk more stressful, and it's a struggle. You gotta be mindful and think like that. Do you care for your people? Do you care for your wife, your daughter, your son? Do you care? If you did, you would think. Or you just want to go through these scriptures, apply them out of context, and use it on your family, your people, and watch many just flow away. Now I get it in chapter um Daniel chapter 12 verses 1 and 2. I get it. The highest says, some shall awake to everlasting life, and some shall awake to everlasting shame and contempt. So that means some shall awake unto a higher and seek the tree of life, which is a higher. And for the law is life, of course, but we know that law is not going to be instituted properly in its proper context until we go back. And it says, some shall awake to everlasting shame and contempt. Like some will look down upon being Yasharalite or being Israel or Yasharala. Some will look down upon it because they will feel like it's worthless to proclaim your nationality during this captivity because it gives you no it gives you no advantage over anyone. They will feel like that. It's like we're all in the same situations, which that is true to a certain extent. So I get that there's going to be a separation that takes place. But then when you put the whole pot of gumbo together, the whole pot, you put all the ingredients in. So you put all the scriptures in, everything that just puts this whole thing together, this whole, like the whole architect of what's going on together. You put it together, right? And then you go right here with this verse, what was that? Make sure. Verse 3, Isaiah 42, verse 3. And then you go to Ezekiel chapter 34. Then you go to Ezekiel chapter 20. When you put all of it together, and then many more, then you will see that the men of Yasharallah is the ones pushing the horns on the people and causing them to go astray from Ahia. So he has to be the shepherd to bring them back and then raise up his shepherd from the seed of Dawi to be that one shepherd on earth to rule in his spirit. And it's because of you men who rule with an iron fist, causing your people and your wives to turn from Ahia. You know, you want to ridicule people and just jump down their throats. I'm going to say it. No, this law cannot be done fully. And no, I'm not saying don't try to keep it, but keep things in its proper perspective. What's made for the land, keep it in the land. What is obviously can't be done because of your circumstances, understand that. We are not in charge of anything here in this captivity. And even when we leave from here and go to former lands where we go back to areas in Africa, we still up under the government of the Jews or whatever African country that we are in. We still not the head. We can do certain things to make our food more cleaner, but the air is still dirty, and those who have dominion are still in charge of these things. And they has made what's